All right, let's let everybody get out of here and we'll get into it.
We work best when no one's around.
Like a nice, intimate audience.
Absolutely. Tone and Tony, let's first talk about the business of comic books. What do you enjoy most about it as an artist? And we'll start there.
Well, I like being able to tell stories, come up with stories, and sort of like be able to tell them without having to go through any other. Like that's what my favorite thing about comics is that you can have the idea, you can get it drawn, you can draw it yourself, and you can put it out and get your idea all the way across, in just one, just by making one comic.
Tone, how about you?
It's about the freedom of being able to do what you want to do for the most part. It's like I've had many jobs. I've done a lot of things, and I enjoyed my jobs, but I'd never loved my job. So I love what I do because I get to do what I want, and in this case, I'm working with Tony, and it's Tony's vision, it's his baby, his thing. But yeah, again, a horrible day of this is better than a good day of digging ditches. So, yeah.
Well, and Tone, your career, before you became a comic, you did a lot of different things.
Yeah.
One of the little known facts maybe is the fact you were on Dexter. And you played a serial killer. So, what makes a good serial killer? I guess we could start there.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I had no idea. They gave me an option. They said, you can be the killer or the killee. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the killer. It's like, I'm not going to be the killee. And thank God I did, because the short version of the story was, the story was written about me and a buddy of mine that we were traveling together, and we'd spent about a week on the road. And we were so sick of each other. The gentleman wrote this short story about the two of us, two comic book creators, to kill each other. And then when we got the job, I said, I'm the killer, which made him the killee. He got there and went through like 4 hours of makeup only to be called to set. And when he laid down on the ground, they were like, we need the body. He laid down on the ground, like face up, and they're like, now roll over. And so you never see him at all. You just see the side of his arm and his head. So yeah, so like I said, it was a good choice to be the killer, because then I got to actually be seen, which is an atrocious mess. You don't want to see it. Yeah.
Well, then also, you were part of The Office and the TV series, and they made that fake comic.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a cool story as well.
Yeah, the thing is, being in Los Angeles and you're working in like production, they go, we need this. Someone writes a story and they go, okay, well, we need this. And it literally was just a very simple game of, well, who do we know who makes comic books? We don't know. Call the comic book shop. So they called my friend's shop in Universal City. And Kat said, oh, well, I have a friend, Tone Rodriguez, and they connected me. And it's really nice, because it's like you find people that just know what you can do. And then with me, I don't necessarily know I could do it. And I clearly didn't do it without the help of Tony, because Tony worked on it too. A lot of people don't know that, but I try to share it all the time. But yeah, it's like you just... If I said no, they would have found somebody else, and then the next time they needed something on the show, they would have went to him. So yeah, you just kind of learn how to do it, what you need to do, and then working in the studio, you have guys that have strong suits, because Tony would make his own comic books or his own books and whatnot. So he had all the materials to do it. So he literally showed me how to do it. So.
And Tony, for you, having a comic book in like a show like The Office, that's got to be kind of a cool thing as well.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, that's how Tone and I originally met. He doesn't remember, but we were both on.
I remember.
We were on the CBS show Numbers as extras. They did the same thing where they had they threw a fake Comic-Con, and they needed real comic book people to be the background in the fake Comic-Con. We showed up. We set up just like we set up out here. We bring our books and we put stuff up, and so yeah, we're sort of always being in LA. There's always opportunities for stuff like that, or there used to be. There hasn't been in a little while, but yeah, it's cool.
And one of the things I know, Tony, you're working on now, or which is just dropped, is the Marvel Swimsuit Edition. Yeah. Like talk about how that's kind of developed, and like you laugh. You're like, how did that happen?
So Marvel used to every year do a swimsuit special, just like Sports Illustrated would. They did them for like 4 or 5 years in a row in the '90s, and then when the sort of excess of the '90s dried up and they started to move into like a different phase of comics, they stopped doing them. And then this year, Marvel Rivals got really popular, and Marvel Rivals does like superheroes in like different costumes and different like sexy costumes or swimsuits or whatever. And so finally Marvel was like, oh, I think there's like an appetite for this again, and so they decided to make a new one. But this time, usually it's just a book of pinups, and this time they're like, we should put a story in it and explain what the deal is, why these superheroes are all in their swimsuits, which I don't think they never needed before. But now, because of, I guess we're in a world where everything's explained, they hired me and my buddy Tim Seeley to write the story of why these superheroes are in swimsuits. And they needed it very fast. We did it in like a week, and we knocked it out, and then now it's in stores, and so it's like a funny, cute little short story about these superheroes running around and making their own swimsuit special.
And when you say, it took you a week to do, what's the normal time frame for a book?
Well, I mean, usually it doesn't take more than a week to write a script, but this one was like from concept to turning it in so that the artist could start drawing it was a week. Usually it'll be like you've done the outline, and you've sort of got the pitch approved, and then you can write the script in a week. This one was like they didn't know what they wanted. They just knew they had a swimsuit special coming, and they needed us to come up with it ASAP. So,
Tone, one of the things I know that you've worked on is Bizarre New World.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to be reminded sometimes. I'll be like, what is he talking about? Oh yeah, no, I remember that one.
well, that's because I go to Google page 3. So, I get down into it as,
the real research.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. Whenever Andrew Nelson's here, I try to find some obscure fact who used to play Darth Vader. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And now he couldn't be here this week, and I had a lot of obscure facts.
Can we go through those after this?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
The Darth Vader facts.
Yes, exactly. But in Bizarre New World, it's an average guy that can fly. Talk a little bit about that concept, where it came from, and kind of your thinking behind it.
The very short answer to that is my buddy who wrote it is weird. I love Skippy Martin. I've known him forever. He was a customer at our comic book shop, and then one day he just calls me up and goes, hey, let's get together for lunch or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. And he shows up and he starts pitching me this idea that he wants to do. And the one thing I know about Skip is like he will just follow through with whatever it is he wants to do, even if I go, I don't know if that's a good idea. But the thing is, I've numerously have said, oh, that's not a good idea, and then people do it and they're like, wow, that was a great idea. But Skippy, it was the idea of the flying. Something happened. He never explains what. But one day this one gentleman realizes he can fly. But he wasn't thinking along the lines of like, well, he's not very good at it. He can just get off the ground. It's like it wasn't like Superman. All of a sudden he's like, jumping over, tall buildings. It's like he just kind of floated and he just like couldn't figure things out. So in his like over analytical mind, he figured out like how does somebody who overthinks something deal with this, and then adds to the fact that now he's paranoid. What happens if somebody finds out he can do it, because no one else is doing it, and so he's freaking out because he wants to keep it a secret, but he kind of wants to experiment with it. And that's where the whole story just kind of rolls around in this like weird paranoia, like almost conspiracy theory, because he's afraid what will happen when they find out. And then what ends up happening is, I think in like the 5th or 6th book, somebody sees somebody flying and everyone goes, oh, this is the first guy who can fly. And everybody loves him. And he's like, no, it was me. So it's all these weird things. And again, it was just this bizarre idea, which was where the Bizarre New World came from. It's like, I don't know if he came up with it, or I may have said something that's bizarre, but it was a great book. It came out through
Ape Entertainment.
Yeah, Ape Entertainment. Yeah, man, you got a better memory than I do.
I do.
Yeah, right on.
Well, and also, one thing I read about the Bizarre, World was the fact that he didn't want it to be just Los Angeles. He wanted it to have different voices, different people be a part of it, because it's the world. It's not just Los Angeles.
He wasn't thinking small. He was thinking big, but it focused around this one character, and then everything kind of came in was read through his perspective. But yeah, it's like I remember at one point there was a character in Europe or something. Yeah, I mean, I can't. I haven't looked at that book in forever. I can't believe you brought it up.
I can't either.
Yeah.
Well, a more recent book for you, Tony, or series, I guess, is the Stray Dogs book, and then the Feral Cat book. How much research did you do on what dogs do and what cats do, and what cat ladies do, which is the next edition of Feral?
Yeah. I read books for sure. I mean, the initial premise for Stray Dogs sort of came out of my dog being very forgetful, like the dog that I had at the time. Like, we'd go on walks together, and she would always want to go the way that we never. She'd always want to turn and go the wrong way. And I was like, well, that's not where we're going. Like, every day I would tell her where we're going, and every day she would want to go the other way.
And he literally would talk to the dog.
Yeah.
Like, he would go, hey, stupid. No, this
We're not
way.
going over there. Yeah.
No, we never go over there.
Yeah.
And he, as if it was a child, he would talk to him. It was amazing.
I was very upset that she never seemed to understand. And so when I had this idea, the book Stray Dogs is about a group of dogs that find out that their owner is a serial killer, and the serial killer murders people and takes their dogs as trophies. But the dogs have such short memories that they sort of forget that's how they got there, and eventually they just love their master, and then so it's about what happens when they find out. So that was all sort of based on the idea of my dog being so forgetful and just like, she doesn't seem to know anything about what's going on at any given time. So after I had that idea, then I was like, well, let me research into this and see if it's just my dog that is forgetful, or if all dogs sort of have like what their memories are like.
Tony, just making sure the mic, you're kind of.
Oh, is it going in and out?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 6 people here. They can hear me. But yeah, so the idea of the dogs being forgetful, I read into that, and then when it was time to work on Feral, which is like a zombie story with cats, there's a huge rabies outbreak, and these cats find themselves trapped out in the middle of it. Then I read up a lot on sort of like cat behaviors and different kind of cats, indoor cats versus feral cats and outdoor cats, and different breeds of cats have different, can sort of have different attitudes depending. And so that was a case where I had cats growing up, and so I'm bringing a lot of like the personal, like what those cats were like, but then also like reading about like cat behavior and sort of like how they operate out in the wild and indoors. A lot of that gets put into the book as well. So yeah, there was a little bit of research.
And my question also is, have you tried to draw your pets? Either.
We did, yeah. Stray Dogs. That dog that was forgetful is one of the dogs is designed after her. And yeah, like we would sneak in a lot of our friends' pets, and Tone's dog at the time shows up in Stray Dogs. And yeah. So yeah, we would do that.
Yeah.
Tone, have you tried drawing your dog as well?
I don't have a dog at the moment. Okay. It's like we had animals and we don't have them anymore. So, but yeah, I want another cat desperately. So like the minute I do get one, I'll be like, hey Tony, here's our cat. Draw our cat. Yeah, draw. Here's Pookie. He needs Pookie. Pookie.
It's got to be named the same as your cat. It's got to look the same as your cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, my grandfather always wanted a grandchild named Lukey. Like Lukey.
Oh, okay.
Just like Lukey.
Yeah.
Again, so like Pookie. So same idea.
Another thing we do, we print cats in the back of every issue of Feral. And so all of our friends that have cats send them in, and the fans send in pictures of their cats. So people that read Feral in issues, every issue, the most horrible things will happen to these cats. But then at least at the very end, you'll be like, oh, this is nice. Look at these cute cats.
Oh, my cat's in the book. Oh,
it's sort of like a sorbet after a very spicy meal.
Well, there you go. Absolutely, absolutely. And Tone, looking at your career, you were a burrito maker, you were a radio dispatcher, LAX.
Burrito maker. A lot of those are lies.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you a really short version of the story. I was doing trading cards. I just started doing comic book work, but I got a job with Inkworks. And I would do like 3 or 4 card sets a year. And so every job, they would send me a bio. Like, we need to do a bio. Well, nothing's changed. It's only been 6 months, so I'd send them the same bio. And they're like, no, you got to give us another bio. Nothing's changed. So I just one day just wrote the most ridiculous bio. Like I used to, before I got into comic books, I was a masked wrestler in Mexico. After an accident, I had to flee back home, and with nothing else to do, I found myself drawing comic books. And to my surprise, they ran the bio, and they're on the back of my trading cards. And so everyone gets it, and I'm just like, holy shit. And then I start doing shows, and people go like, I heard you're a wrestler. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, shit, the card. But then it just kept going, and they're like, we need another bio. And so I would send another one, and one of them was like, I decided I was going to climb the south face of Space Mountain and have been thrown out at Disneyland. I just made up a bunch of stuff because I thought it was ridiculous that every 6 months they wanted a new bio. So people will come up to me, like you just said, burrito maker, and I'm like, okay, I've worked at Taco Bell. I guess, one of my bios might have said that I had a restaurant or something.
Hold on
I
a
don't
second.
remember.
Definitely, if you worked at Taco Bell, you were a burrito maker.
Yeah.
This whole story is crazy.
No, I know, but it is a crazy story because somebody mentioned wrestling today because of the wrestlers upstairs,
yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, so I heard you wrestled." It's like, no, I never wrestled. That was a bio.
I mean, Tone, if you want to wrestle, we can get you out in the ring after this.
Somebody told me there's a ring out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't do it.
Oh no,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not sanctioned in the state anymore.
Okay. It's just sanctioned in Mexico.
He used to try and climb the side of Space Mountain.
Yeah.
So he's on probation in California.
Can't do it.
Yeah, just don't climb anywhere in Stockton Con in the arena. We have insurance and that sort of thing. Any questions out here in the audience, by the way?
All right, start thinking about them. We're going to have
Yes,
questions
yes.
at some point.
Now, for you guys, character development, what's the hardest thing about creating characters that can bring some sort of emotion to the pages that pops off that page or that people want to read again and again?
Well, especially in Feral and Stray Dogs doing these pet comics, these animal comics, I always feel like it's cheating a little bit because people automatically like dogs and they automatically like cat, just see them on paper. Even if they don't like dogs in person, like if they're nervous around dogs, you see a dog in a cartoon, you're like, oh, this guy's all right. So I feel like we sort of skip the step of having to introduce a character and give them some sweet little thing that makes you like them. But the hardest part about character development for me, especially working on like longer running comics, is giving characters, keeping characters likable, or just that you want to continue reading them while they continue to sort of like make mistakes and have flaws. Because otherwise, if you're writing like a long running thing just about a guy that always makes the right choices or does the right thing, it gets boring. So you have to have your characters mess up, but at the same time, if you have them mess up too much, then people start to go like, this idiot, like, why do I keep reading this guy constantly screws up? And so it's about figuring out like how much can you make them screw up before they have to really redeem themselves and really, really, go for it. But once you start on that upward swing, it's like you're either going to have them screw up again or they're just going to continue to get better and better. So it's a real balancing act, keeping them grounded, keeping them people that have flaws, but also making them somebody that the people want to continue reading about.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I kind of learned everything about kind of like doing the character development because I work with people that my first book, Violent Messiahs, I would read the scripts, and I love the scripts, and Josh wrote them, and Bill originally came up with the concept. But everyone, like in my head, as I was reading the script, everyone sounded the same. And so Josh was still early on. He didn't have, I guess, the voice of somebody who's been doing this for a while. So there was a cast of like 7 characters in the book, and I just kind of gravitated to one of them, and I was just like, this is my guy. Like, I'm gonna just do kind of stupid, but not like distracting stuff with them. They all just seemed like everything was so serious and so like nonsensical. And so I would just draw him in the background. He didn't have a word at all, but there would be something going on in the foreground. He'd have like a weird like look on his face, or he'd be like, what? Or he'd be watching somebody walking around the background. And they finally noticed that that's what I was doing. I said, well, he doesn't have to do anything else. I'm just trying to. It's almost like those old the Yul Brynner films and stuff, the Magnificent Seven, where they're all trying to out-act each other, but they're stealing the scene. One of the main characters will have a dialogue, and then you'll have Steve McQueen in the background just kind of like start picking at the cabinet and something. He'll do something like, but all of a sudden there's like this like something that he's doing that now you're not watching Yul Brynner, you're watching Steve McQueen, and you give him a little life, and so that's how I started doing it. So,
do you think that all comics have to have kind of a villain element or something like a bad element, or can they be a good storyline that doesn't have someone overcomes a triumph?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to have any villain or conflict. I mean, comics can be literally about everything, anything. That's what's cool about them. To make them like sort of like compelling pulp stories, like Serial, a cliffhanger at the end, and you want to come back every month, like the kind of comics that we make. Yeah, you need to have some sort of conflict, some sort of villain. But in the book that like in a book like Feral, there's not like a one big bad guy. It's just zombies. So like everybody can be the villain. Like anybody that gets bit or scratched ends up being the villain. And the villain, the main villain of the thing is like this. Just like in a zombie movie or in a 28 days
just
later,
the outbreak, right?
This sickness, this sort of like decay is the villain. That's what's cool about. I mean, I think that's what people like about zombie stuff, is that it's like this identifiable thing that's going to happen to all of us is the bad guy in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Tony are at Artist Alley. You can go talk to them, see their work there. Also purchase their books. So Tony, thank you for being a part of this afternoon.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, happy to be there.
Beautiful.
Are we done?
You're done.
That was quick.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. This was great. Appreciate you guys.
Be well. God bless.
We thought there was going to be nobody here. There's like 15 people, 10, 30. I don't know. I'm not a good counter, but this is great.
Well, and they're going to be Mexican wrestlers later on.
We're going to climb Space Mountain and wrap burritos.